Jeremy and his team for putting together such a great event. I'm really excited about this panel, and I think a lot of people are. If we could kind of quiet down for just a minute. Shh. There, perfect. So I'm just really excited about this panel because everyone is talking about how do we work best with these venues, and each venue has their own set of unique criteria that I think us as platform developers, other developers who are creating experiences need to learn about so that we can actually get out to the public. So I wanted to start with just a quick introduction from everyone, 30 seconds or less. Let's go ahead and go.
Diana Johns, Vice President for Exhibits at Pacific Science Center.
Kevin Backus, Senior Vice President of Entertainment and Game Strategy for Dave & Buster's.
Chuck Taylor, until very recently, Senior Director of All Immersive Technologies at Caesars Entertainment, now independently working on location-based attractions in the Las Vegas market.
You guys have to share.
Yeah. Selma Sabera, I'm the executive producer for Cross Reality Experiences at Meow Wolf. So we're still up and coming here.
Great.
And I'd like to just thank Dean Takahashi over here. If it wasn't for Dean's book, I never would have gone and gotten a photo taken of myself. So it would have been like just a placeholder question mark.
That's
It's
fantastic.
like the only corporate picture I've ever had taken of me, and it was for Dean. So thank you, Dean.
We're very grateful for Dean. So I guess maybe just we could start out, everyone kind of has different business models. And so to talk through what's it like in your business, ticketed at the front, not ticketed at the front, is each attraction ticketed? How are you kind of doing that in your traditional business? Selma, you want to?
Sure. So Meow Wolf is a ticketed experience. You buy the ticket up front. When we look at expanding the exhibit to have an immersive technology sector as well, we look at it as there's the Meow Wolf exhibit ticket, there is the new experience that has a separate ticket, and then a bundled ticket price for both.
Caesars does ticketed, non-ticketed attractions, and that's a common model in Las Vegas. They actually casinos prefer a ticketed attraction because they add a ticket fee. So it's another revenue stream for them, and they have box offices every 3 feet, so they love to promote ticketed attractions. But I've seen a lot of non-ticketed attractions do well if the context is correct. I've seen them done poorly. I've seen them done well. You can make a lot of money on those also. So there's in the Vegas market, heavy tourist market, there's a lot of different things that you can do from a business model perspective.
So ours is non-ticketed, but we do have a virtual currency that we used. We've used virtual currency in our facilities for over 20 years, and so for this we created a new one in order to ensure that our guests didn't sort of blow out their their balances when they went to play these games.
So you have used a virtual currency, and now you're using a different type for VR?
Correct. Yeah, because what we're charging is significantly higher than what we would charge for an arcade game.
And the Science Center is, like any other museum or science center out there, there's a gate price, and we're trying really hard to not add additional costs on top of that. So right now, any of our VR experiences, except for Hyperspace, actually, because it's in public beta, is free, comes with the admission.
Cool. So then what VR are you using now, and what's really working for you? Selma, I know your answer. So.
Yeah, we don't have VR right now in the current exhibit. We are looking to expand with the expansions that we're doing in Denver and further. We're looking at using mixed reality, so something like a HoloLens.
Really, what have you seen? I know you've tested a lot of different things. What have you seen that's worked the best? You've used mixed reality, you've used VR in different ways.
Yeah, no, we did a series of different tests, and what we found is that a multi-user experience in mixed reality really gives people joy because they can socialize immediately. They can see, you don't have to go far and beyond to see the environment you're in. Meow Wolf has the benefit of creating an already immersive artistic environment. So, creating a virtual one doesn't make much sense for us. So we did find that a lot of positive feedback on the tests have been mixed reality social experiences that people can share. Yeah.
Jana?
I apologize if you heard this yesterday. I'll be repetitive, but we are trying to increase awareness about virtual reality and MR, mixed reality. So right now we do about 70% VR experiences, everything ranging from just 360 headsets to full-on social virtual reality experiences for up to 6 people. And then we have some augmented experiences, mixed reality experiences actually, that have come from the local community. So that, it's about 70-30 in VR and the rest.
And what of those do you think that people are really most attracted to in that greater building? Not us, I'm just saying, what types of experiences? Because you bring in a lot of curated things that are educational as well as adventure and different things. What kind of things are people most attracted to?
It's basically the same as what Selma is talking about. It's social, the things that people get to do with each other, and be able to talk about during and after is really important.
So in the Las Vegas market, it was counterintuitive to me at first that what I saw most successful lately, and that is the 4 to 5 minute experiences that were not of the highest quality, but were very easy to merchandise to people because it was obvious what the experience was going to be when you looked at it. So that often involved mixed reality, involves some props. So if I see an elevator, I know I'm going to be riding an elevator. Or if I see something that looks like a roller coaster ride, I know I'm riding a roller coaster. People need to know what they're going to be purchasing. And the price point surprised me too. $20 is a good price point to come in at a 4 to 5 minute experience in Las Vegas for a tourist market. If you're making something that's consumable, that people can easily understand, is obviously entertaining because you see people doing it and they're having some reaction to it, you can get people to bite on that experience. And I was a bit surprised by that. I thought people were going to demand a higher grade of entertainment for that amount of investment, but no, they're not. And I think what I've seen struggle more are their longer form experiences that have to be explained to someone before they do them, because you can't really see anything. You're going into an empty room. I think the company does the best job of that is zero latency. I think in their case, an excellent job of conveying. And you can see they've really, if you ever get a chance to go to Vegas, go into MGM to level up and see how they're merchandising the experience. I think they do a great job. But that's you have to do a good job of that if you're going to be able to sell those experiences. But we have a particular market in Las Vegas that from what I could tell from this conference, you have to be marketed to in a very distinct way. These are the vast majority of people never tried VR ever, and probably won't try it for a long time after that. So there's a certain way you sell experiences to them.
So we've been testing virtual reality for going on 6 years now. A lot of the people that were early in Oculus were people I'd known for a long time. And when I saw VR, I saw something that I thought was going to take a lot longer to achieve consumer adoption than most people thought. And as a result, I saw opportunity for us to potentially use it as an immersive display technology more so than a category of product. And so we've either, if you built it in VR, we've either looked at it or we've tested it. I mean, we spent 3 very, very frustrating years testing everything that was out there. And what we found was that, our audience, we had almost 50 million visitors last year in our 125 locations. And what we found is that for them, VR is either neutral to slightly negative. It looked like a hassle. It was something they didn't understand, something that they weren't really interested in. So our challenge was to try to figure out, okay, we know that we can create really compelling experiences using this display technology. How do we do it in a way that's appropriate to the kind of experience that they have? Our guests are there for an entertainment buffet. They play Big Bass Wheel for 3 minutes. They play Batman Racing for a couple minutes. They play a shooter. They play Halo. They play something else. They're there for some drinks and some laughs and some prizes, and they go home. So the idea of spending like 45 minutes and paying like $20 for that is not on their radar. We've tested. That's why we don't have laser tag or escape rooms or ropes courses. We tested all that stuff too. Not interesting. So we created a product. Started about 3 years ago, that was designed to do a bunch of impossible things. What we wanted out of an entertainment product was something with very, very high throughput that could have a short burst of entertainment that provided value for money, that was something that was essentially, that would have relatively low labor, relatively low capital costs, so we could roll it out in 120 locations. And also, we wanted something that was almost a bait and switch. If you go and you see what we eventually came up with, to the guests, they look at it and they go, oh, hey, it's a theme park ride where I can play Jurassic World. And then we go, yes, it is, dear. Put on this headset, and then you're off to the ride. So, we don't hide VR, but for most people, they don't understand VR. They don't know what it is. They can't communicate what it is to their friends. And I'm talking about out of a very, very broad population of people, which is who comes to our places. So what we built was something that combines motion simulation with immersive experience that you exhibit through VR. We charge $5 for it. It's about 4 or 5 minutes in length, and people seem to be pretty happy with it.
You kind of hit on my next question, which was when you're bringing these into your venues, we have all of these developers creating things. What are kind of the most important things that you look for when evaluating a new product to bring in, when you're thinking about operations and actually installing it in your facility?
Throughput.
And what's a good number for you?
Higher the better. So, we would rather have 100 people spend $5 for a 5-minute experience than have, spend, 10 times as much money for, and have fewer people go through. Because for us, it's also guest satisfaction, right? If somebody goes, oh, that looks really great. I want to play that Star Trek game that Dave & Buster's just put out, and the line is like an hour and a half long and they can't play it, like that's not helpful to us.
Right. And what I think is interesting about this panel is then we can ask, like, Diana or Selma, is throughput really your main concern in these types of evaluations?
I would say yes, it is. I agree. It's a bummer to buy a ticket for something and not be able to try it. So a lot of times the way we do think about it is the experience a multi-user experience? Or if it's not, can I have more experience of the same type on a smaller footprint so more people can try it out and I can have multiple experiences? So it is as much as like, hey, how can we do a turnaround that's fun for people, that doesn't require too much suiting things on, suiting things off. And the way we think about it is that the space itself should be very engaging. And it's just there to showcase people different emerging technologies as they come out and how they can be used in entertainment or arts or those kinds of fields. But definitely, we want to be at capacity whenever we can.
I feel like I'm just going to let you go first every time because I feel like you answer for me as well. The only thing I'm going to add is throughput matters, but so does, again, in our world, for instance, we're running something called Chorus right now. It's 6 people per experience. It's an 8-minute experience. By the time you get everybody in and out of the equipment, it's about 12 to 15, depending. The other 15 minutes, we have educators who are doing this, not just guest services people. The educators are used to facilitating STEM topics, science, technology, engineering, and math topics. And so the rest of the 15 minutes is really just spent having a conversation with the 6 people about their experience, what they thought, what other kinds of experiences they've had. So throughput matters because people get cranky if they can't get in. But that's, I would say the experience is equal to the throughput for us. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that throughput is the main thing. Go ahead.
Definitely throughput. IP is really important. It changes the reason why people do something. What I've seen is that if you're Dave & Buster's is a great IP, for example. I know I'm playing Jurassic Park. Sorry, I'm doing the Jurassic ride. You don't think you'll hear people say I'm doing VR. I'm doing Jurassic. It's different. If you don't have IP, then you're selling the virtual experience itself. Again, it gets more challenging to sell that to people unless it's obvious when you look at it what the simulation is going to be. I'm going to put you on a virtual roller coaster ride. I can sell that. But if it's just a chair and an HMD, you'd be surprised. People shy away from it. They don't know what the hell it is, and it's more difficult, especially to sell that at a higher price point. So I think IP is, whenever you can get it, is very helpful.
Well, you know, IP is interesting. I mean, we launched with IP because, in part, like I said, it's almost like a bait and switch. We also launched because we were the only people in the space that do national television advertising around entertainment properties. So we've got 15 seconds to explain why you should come to Dave & Buster's, and also we have to show food and beverage in the offer and all that sort of stuff. So we basically have time to go Jurassic World, and then we're on the next thing. But the second title that we added to the platform was a piece of original content that was developed for us by VR Studios called Dragon Frost. And with that, we advertised that on television. We basically said, hey, ride dragons, and people were like, got it. So, so IP is important. IP is not necessarily essential, but the experience, whether it's, Jurassic World or it's Ride Dragons or it's Star Trek, and we just announced that our next one's going to be based on the new Men in Black movie that's coming out. Those are things that people go, that's something I want to do. To some extent, I think eventually we're going to end up looking like Universal Studios theme park.
Yeah. It sounds like you're also just saying clarity of how you're getting this across to guests is a major.
I would add, though, that I think venue does matter. So at a place like Pacific Science Center, people expect technology and they want to engage with it. So there's sort of an in already, whereas maybe at an eating establishment or, I just think that you probably have some different hills to climb depending on sort of the trust and awareness factor.
Oh, no, we're definitely evaluated based on the newness of what we do and the use of technology and that sort of stuff. But I think that, again, the IP, known IP is a shortcut, right? You can say Star Wars, people go, okay, I know that. We had to spend, Dragon Frost will end up being probably one of our longest games because we have to spend time at the beginning explaining, okay, it's a kingdom, there are dragons, there's these guys that are fighting, like that sort of stuff. You go, Jurassic World, they go, okay, I understand. You don't have to explain why there are dinosaurs running around.
Right. That makes sense. And so then you evaluate a lot of potential VR attractions to bring into your facilities. What kind of things have you immediately seen and said, this isn't going to fit? Or what kind of trends, I guess I'm asking, in the location-based industry are you not as excited about?
So in our case, in the Las Vegas market, what I've seen is multiplayer experiences very important, and things that are interactive and collaborative. You're doing something together. You come out of that experience having bonded in some way from a shared purpose, shared mission. Those do really well. Because you're there in that context in order to have fun with other people. So those resonate. Those resonate well. And like I said, other things really get down to things that you're conveying to someone. You're giving them a different experience that'd be difficult for them to have in real life. Riding a hot air balloon, parachuting, flying around, I'm thinking about Birdly, anything that is, someone is never going to do, and they can, in this context, they can do it virtually. That also resonates really well, because again, in our market, tourist market, and I would assume it's true in theme parks as well, you go there to live a fantasy, so you don't want to do things that you could easily do, like riding a bike in VR. That's boring.
Right.
Why not fly?
Yeah.
Give me a magic carpet.
I think that's what I'm getting at, is that we have developers in the room who are creating
Yeah.
things, and we want to hear, maybe riding a bike isn't as exciting as we thought it would be.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that VR by itself is sufficient to really get people excited. Ooh, look, you can go inside of this place, you can have this experience. It's not. I mean, VR is the technology, the display technology that allows you, that enables you to put you inside of an environment and have an experience that you want to have. And so we look at a lot of stuff where it's like, but don't you understand, like, it's VR, like it's going to be exciting and it's going to be VR. And I think that that's going to be problematic, less so for us than potentially smaller operators that really don't know the difference. And then they're kind of putting it out in front of their customers going, hey, we heard that VR is the future, here you go. How about this? This is VR, right? And I think that's, a lot of people are going to end up learning some very difficult lessons.
Sure. Again, we have a lot of developers and small products or platforms that they're building in the audience. Are you, as venues, open to direct conversations with these smaller groups, or are you looking more for that platform that can start to substantialize a longer-term play for you?
Oh, no, we're definitely looking for that. I mean, my hope was, after looking at all the frustration at people kind of, seeing VR, seeing kind of free roaming, kind of open opportunities and going, oh, it looks like a hassle, backpacks and headset, and I'm going to look funny in front of my friends, and I don't understand what this is. Our hope was that by introducing to people to VR through a more relevant and a more comfortable way of being introduced to it, that other form factors would become more interesting. So if you look at what we do, our average store has about 155 arcade games in it. So, and we're constantly replacing those with new things and updating them. And so, could we do that with something that that involved, some sort of immersive display technology? We're betting on that.
Okay.
Platforms are good because operators who want to ultimately scale into multiple experiences would prefer to have a platform that has solid support behind it. They don't want a bunch of one-off executions that they then have to figure out how to staff. I mean, I tell you that the people who operate attractions in Las Vegas, they, for the most part, are not technologists. They are marketers. They don't know how to run this. So the easier you can make it, the better. And I am seeing the last 2 years since I've been focused on VR in Vegas, I've seen platforms become so much more robust. It's really exciting because now things that I thought would just be very difficult to execute, I can totally see happening, and that's really cool to see. I think it's going to continue to happen. Yeah,
it's like Tim was saying, that one button push. Makes
absolutely,
it so
the one
easier.
button. Yeah, yes, that's what they want.
And it kind of sounds like you're saying that at this point in the game, in order to get in with you, it makes more sense to go start talking to these platforms so that they can make those inroads.
Yeah, so it's so when I first got to Caesars, this story is a little bit irrelevant. We brought in HoloCube. I didn't bring it in, someone else brought it in, and that was our test. We put it in the middle of the casino floor. And you guys are familiar with HoloCube, I think, by VRsnal. The guys who are running it were the guys who are staffing our pool. And why do we have those guys? Because they were young and they played video games. And we stored the VR equipment in the pool filter room. It was a disaster. We just didn't understand how to, and it didn't have that. It didn't have a one button platform. It didn't. They hadn't evolved to that point yet. It's not their fault. It was our fault for thinking that we could handle connecting wireless keyboards and setting it up really highly manually all the time.
With
Didn't work at all.
chlorine,
Now, yeah, that was
added
bad.
in.
That was bad. So we're way past that now, and things are much better because you want the guest to have a good experience. The worst thing that's going to happen is someone comes, specifically walks a long way to do something, it's not available for them.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Sure. Right.
You need to be able to deliver what they thought they're going to get.
But your instincts are right. I mean, we operate our systems using people from the front desk, using servers or bartenders or things like that. Why? Because we look at that as fundamentally a guest services role. They're introducing, they're kind of drumming up business. They're explaining people what it is. They're, they're taking, helping them to add virtual currency if they don't have it, that sort of thing. And we're not going to go out and staff and hire VR operators. We're going to take them from something else in our existing organization. And so, instead of taking like the game technicians, we took people who were good at dealing with people. The problem in your case was that you know, the product wasn't engineered for that sort of person. So your choice was right. It's just that we've had to take a while to catch up.
And so, with Selma and Diana, are you in the similar boat where you're looking for those platforms? It just feels like you're curating a different type of content than maybe Kevin is.
So for Meowwolf, again, we're looking more at spatial computing and getting world meshes and getting that portion of the technology at a point where we can recognize scenes correctly and switch between scenes in the real world. So it's a little bit different, and I feel like even more emerging than what you guys are talking about.
It's the future of human-computer interaction. It's
Yeah.
that link to the
So
physical
for us,
world.
it's a lot of catch up, and it's a lot of R&D right now, how that works.
Any thoughts, sir?
Yes,
Okay.
we're open to all of that.
Okay, perfect. Well, I did want to take some time for questions. If there are any questions in the room, you have a chance to actually talk to some great venues up here and figure out how you can get in contact, or I won't say your phone numbers out loud. Anybody? Somebody? Yep. Go ahead.
So with for Dave and Buster, but you've got people moving through. I know you've got sort of like 5 people in a row in a ride. Are you cleaning the headsets after all of that, or
Oh, wait, we're supposed to clean
Yeah.
the headsets? Oh, shit, nobody told me.
The question was, how are they cleaning headsets at Dave & Buster's?
So, too much. So when we first tested the system a couple of years ago, using generic content and that sort of stuff, we timed the turnover time, and in practice, it's been much, much longer. It's been much longer because of 2 things, in my opinion. One is because we were very, very clear with the staff that they needed to clean, and so now they clean it like an army private. They're in there and they're kind of cleaning out everything, and that's taking too long. The other thing is that we seat people, and then they start fiddling with adjustments and that sort of stuff. So in 6 weeks, we're going to be taking apart all of our Vives, which will be ending their warranty period. That we never actually were able to get much use out of. But we're going to be taking them apart, and we're going to be remanufacturing them with our own enclosures so that the throughput is done very differently and the cleaning process can be handled very differently, because our goal is to try to turn over the systems in about half to about 40% of what we're doing right now.
Good. Anybody else? Questions?
Having an arcade close to a Dave & Buster's, I actually get a large amount of customers that come from other sources of entertainment. One of their biggest complaints right now is that it does get them sick, and so a lot of the rides where you have forward momentum and you're not actually moving in a free roam environment, moving your body, we're actually seeing a lot of negative feedback from those types of things. And maybe a better device will solve that, but what other things are being done to solve sickness or other related things like that?
Well, as you might imagine, we've done an extraordinary amount of testing and quantitative research on motion sickness in VR platforms. We're not aware of a significant amount of people who are doing that. I imagine that those who complain about it, it's memorable. But we have put millions of people through this system in the last 9 months. And so there are a couple things that people have difficulty with. Dragon Frost, for example, I've noticed that there's kind of an oscillating movement to the Dragon that some people have problems with. But for the most part, we're not aware of a significant problem with that. I can tell you that I personally suffer greatly from VR motion sickness. It makes it very difficult for me to try a lot of the things that are out there, and I actually find it much more straightforward when you have some motion that's done that way. But a lot of it also goes into the way that we author the content. So, we've authored the content in a way where we're not doing unnatural motions that aren't matched by the actual movement of the simulator. We also minimize sharp changes in direction, and we also try to minimize the amount of momentum changes. So, we're not accelerating and decelerating a lot. So there's a lot that's been done there. There is some small percentage of people who are going to be very, very sensitive to that no matter what you do, and that's just a physiological challenge.
And I would wonder what percentage, if it matches the same percentage of people who went on a real roller coaster, if they're going to feel that same. And there's probably a good percentage of people who do that on a roller coaster. And I also think on the sickness, sort of motion sickness side of things, it's another testament to free roam, because you have that agency, you're in control, you're the one who's walking around. We have people who come in who say, I normally have vertigo and I don't feel a thing. And so I think that'll also help.
I have never been as sick as when I tried one of the free roam systems that's available out in the marketplace.
Well, we don't have to say what system.
No, I'm not going to say which one, but I have
it
become
depends on.
incredibly sick in free roam. It's just it's just the way that physiology works.
Yeah. Okay, one more question, and I think we're at the end of our time.
And just a quick note on the motion sickness. I tried Jurassic World, and I'm highly sensitive as well. And Dave & Buster's does it right. You mentioned acceleration, deceleration. These guys do it right. So that's the right way to prevent motion sickness. It's very simple to do it. The question, though, is, so what are each of your businesses using VR for? We mentioned today VR, the market, it's getting there. But the market is difficult. Are you using it? How do you justify it in your business? Is it more of like a marketing, hey, we got VR, or is it actually a profit generator? How do you guys use VR for your business?
Ka-ching. I mean, we are 100% focused on trying to build a business around this. So, we want to figure out how we do something that is high throughput, that is high repeatability, replayability, because we want people to play this. We want people to play in order to do something that generates revenue for us. So we don't promote it as VR. For us, VR is a fully saturated, fully mature market. We still, despite the throughput that we still have demand that exceeds our supply and our availability of resources. So for us, I've had conversations with licensors who've said, well, 3 years from now when VR is really taken off, you're going to have the screaming deal of the century. I'm like, no. From 3 years from now, people are going to be tired of the game that we built on your IP. Right now, day one is when it's going to have the most penetration. This is when people are going to be most excited about it. So, I would imagine for most of us, it's not like people are discovering VR. Now, for a standalone VR business, right, if you're saying, look, we are a VR arcade and you're going to come to us because of VR, then potentially over time, you're going to find a situation where people are going to seek you out and go to your facility because they've heard something about VR. The challenge, though, of the VR business, and the thing that really makes me worry for a lot of VR dedicated operators, is that right now you're betting on a very, very narrow audience. People who are interested enough in VR that they're going to go seek it out, but not really interested enough to put it in their own home. And I mean, so one of two things is going to happen. Either those people are going to become more sophisticated, technology is going to become more readily available, cost efficient, easy to install, they're going to put in their homes, or VR is going to be subsumed by some other form of entertainment, and that demand is going to go away. And so I think the challenge right now is trying to take advantage of it and establish yourself not as a VR place, but as a place for some sort of entertainment, because entertainment technology changes. You're building a business around a technology. That's not a good long-term bet.
Right. Anybody else as far as the...
Yeah, demographics. Younger consumers coming to Vegas are not spending money in the same ways that their parents did, our older previous generations did. They're willing to overspend on experiences. They'll buy $20 drinks, $500 bottles at the nightclub. They'll do insane things, but they won't take that same money and go put it in a slot machine. Not interested in that. So really, for us, very strategically trying to create new types of experiences that attract that market where, and again, remember the things I said before, social experiences or things that are over the top that they couldn't do otherwise. I mean, that's how you market experiences to that generation. So that it's out of necessity that I think that transformation is taking place.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you were so focused on high throughput, but almost, I mean, definitely for profits and that kind of thing, but it's also for you as creating a new type of experience to draw people in. You want as many people as you can to get through it. But I did want to hear from Selma and Diana as well, just on that, if you had any extra thoughts on why you're actually bringing VR into your...
Yeah, so for us, Meow Wolf is an immersive, interactive art center, and we build the exhibit itself as a full immersion already, where you don't need any gadgets. So to add something like VR for us, then it becomes an artistic expression, a form in which an artist can bring something different that's maybe not franchised IP. We stay away from franchised IPs, and we're really interested kind of in that indie voice that might do something a little bit different and a little bit weird. The other version of that would be a new type of interaction. So maybe having this full immersion that takes you somewhere so otherworldly that you need that full immersiveness that VR brings. But VR is not our main business model, basically.
It's not going to go away. It's fun. People want to do it. But it's also being applied in a lot of different disciplines. And so I would say the biggest thing that we're trying to do is raise awareness about the technology and how broadly it can be applied.
All right, well, thank you. It's a really awesome group to have a bunch of different answers, so really appreciate you guys coming. Thank you all.